Right Honourable Dame Cindy Kiddo, Governor General of New Zealand, and Dr. Richard Davis.
So please be seated. E ngā mana, e ngā reo, e ngā iwi o ngā hau e whā, tēnei aku mihi mahana ki o koutou katoa. Nau mai, hara mai, ki te whare kāwana, ki tēnei, ki whanganui e tara. Kia ora mai tātou katoa. Distinguished guests, it is a pleasure to welcome you all to Government House for today's investiture ceremony. I'd like to specifically acknowledge Mr. Joe Harawira, our kaumātua, and Ms. Puhi Wahine Tibble, our kuia. Hosting investiture ceremonies is one of the most important duties that I perform on behalf of His Majesty, the King of New Zealand. I'm delighted to bring together such an extraordinary group of New Zealanders. You have each brought pride and a greater sense of well-being to Aotearoa New Zealand through your outstanding achievements and your service to our communities. On behalf of all New Zealanders, I extend my sincerest thanks to you for your contributions. After each recipient is honoured, I invite you to join with me in congratulating them. Ms. Catriona McLeod will now summon the recipients and read their citations.
Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a Companion of the Queen's Service Order, Mr. Hayden Wano of New Plymouth for services to Māori health. Hayden Wano, Taranaki, Te Atiawa, Ngāti Tama, Ngāti Awa, is Chief Executive Officer of Tuiora, an iwi-owned kaupapa Māori health and social service provider. He's grown the organisation from a workforce of 4 in 1998 to more than 180 today. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Tuiora was a leading provider that contributed to an 89% double vaccination rate for Māori in Taranaki. He was the first mental health service manager for Taranaki Area Health Board and served as the first chair of the Taranaki District Health Board. Mr. Wano is chair of Te Hiringa Mahara Mental Health and Wellbeing Commission, a trustee of Taranaki Arts Festival Trust and of Wise Trust, and a board member of the Taranaki Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Hayden Wano, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of an officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Ms. Elizabeth Caldwell of Wellington for services to the arts. Elizabeth Caldwell has supported and promoted contemporary artists as a curator at the Aigantai Art Gallery in Timaru and Christchurch Art Gallery, Te Puna o Waifetu. She played a significant role in driving key visual arts initiatives at Creative New Zealand Toi Aotearoa, including leading New Zealand's first 2 exhibitions at the Venice Biennale, international residencies, and the foundation of Object Space. She has served as head of art at Te Papa, director of the Dunedin Public Art Gallery, director of City Gallery Wellington, Te Whare Toi, and director Art and Heritage, Te Ringa Ahua, at Experience Wellington. Ms. Caldwell has brought the best of contemporary art and culture to an increasingly broad and diverse audience, and has advocated for the role of the arts in building strong, inclusive and cohesive communities. Ms. Elizabeth Caldwell, please come forward. Mr. Grant Cleland of Christchurch for services to disabled people. Grant Cleland held executive roles with the Disabled Persons Assembly. He is a New Zealand Qualifications Authority Board member. He has been president of Achieve, promoting inclusive post-secondary education, co-chair of the Ministry of Social Development, Health and Disability Reference Group, and chair of the Disability Employment Forum. He was on the ministerial project group that developed the Enabling Good Lives principles. He chairs the Skillwise Trust, Te Whatu Ora Waitaha Disability Steering Group, and Ara Disability Strategy Group. He was the first disabled person to be chief executive of Workbridge. He established consultancy firm Creative Solutions. Mr. Cleland has been project lead for the Tech Kia Orite Disability Action Plan Toolkit for tertiary education providers and the development of the Diploma of Employment Support. Mr. Grant Cleland, please come forward. Ms. Te Haumihiata Mason of Tania Tua for services to Māori language education. Te Haumihiata Mason, Tūhoi Te Arawa, Ngāti Pango, was a Te Reo Māori lecturer with the University of Waikato. She became the manager of Māori language with Te Taura Whiri I Te Reo Māori, responsible for translation and interpretations of several published works through the organisation, liaising with officials from government agencies, supporting the Minister of Māori Affairs, and attending select committee meetings. She was one of the writers on He Pātaka Kupu, the first monolingual Māori dictionary. She returned to Te Taura Whiri I Te Reo Māori as a senior manager, responsible for all Māori language services and communications, including carrying out the retranslation of the Māori Language Act 1987. Ms. Mason has produced a range of Māori language resources through research, writing and translation. Ms. Te Haumihiata Mason, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Mr. David Chappell, of Palmerston North, for services to the community and heritage preservation. David Chappell has contributed his architectural knowledge to communities pro bono, helping preserve and maintain historic buildings such as All Saints Anglican Church. He was chairman of Across Social Services. He helped establish and chairs Men's Shed Manawatu, coordinating community projects. He's been a member of Awapuni Rotary Club for 45 years and led the establishment of 5 Probus clubs. He was part of the awesome Awapanuni community group. He assists Starlight, who provide care packages for patients at Mid Central Health Board's mental health unit. He helped establish Wild Base Recovery Centre, providing shelter and care for wildlife recovering after treatment. Mr. Chappell is a trustee of Hoffman Kiln Trust. Mr. David Chappell, please come forward. Mr. Tony Gray of Nelson for services to education. Tony Gray was Chief Executive of Nelson Marlborough Institute of Technology, NMIT, transforming it into one of the best performing educational institutes in New Zealand. He was instrumental in establishing Innovate, a regional entrepreneur activator designed to support, nurture, and grow innovative businesses and talented people from the region. He then became Chief Executive of Ara Institute of Canterbury. He helped establish Te Ohaka Centre for Growth and Innovation and Te Papa Hauora Health Precinct. He was chair of the Tertiary Accord of New Zealand, where he worked towards establishing a shared online learning platform across member institutes. Mr. Gray is Chief Executive of the Nelson Tasman Hospice Trust. Mr. Tony Gray, please come forward. Mr. Chris Grinter of Rotorua for services to education and Māori. Chris Grinter has been principal of Rotorua Boys High School since 1991. He implemented a Treaty of Waitangi principles-based approach and, in partnership with Ngāti Whakaue, created a bilingual teaching program. With the support of Ngāti Whakaue, a Māori education whare complex was opened. He opened the Ty Mitchell boarding hostel, providing homes for those with challenging backgrounds, with teachers providing mentoring and leadership. The school was equipped with a health and wellness support centre to ensure the basic needs of students were met on site. As a result, academic achievement rates for students have improved. Mr. Grinter was coach for the New Zealand Secondary Schools rugby team. Mr. Chris Grinter, please come forward. Dr. Greg Shirley of Paraparaumu for services to conservation. Dr. Greg Shirley, with the Department of Conservation, DOC, began studying the Mahonui giant weta in the 1980s, along with flax snails in Northland and offshore islands. He was part of the Secretariat of Pacific Regional Environment Program. He helped formulate DOC's policy and implementation of recovery plans for endangered invertebrates. He researched the use of 1080 toxin on the conservation estate and plans for endangered invertebrates. He was director of Global Invasive Species Program work in South Africa and joined the United Nations Environment Program in Samoa. He co-founded the Samoan Conservation Society. Dr. Shirley continues to carry out biodiversity conservation contracts and voluntary conservation work. Dr. Greg Shirley, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the Queen's Service Medal, Mrs. Rosemary Ensor of Hanmer Springs for services to the community. Rosemary Ensor has been president of the Hanmer Springs Plunkett Group, secretary of the Hanmer Springs Schools Committee, a member of the Board of Trustees of Amuri Area School, and a member of the Canterbury Education Board. She was president of the Hanmer Springs Pony Club, district commissioner for the Hurunui Pony Club, and Canterbury representative on the New Zealand Pony Club Management Committee. She wrote articles for the Horse and Pony magazine. She was chair of the Hanmer Springs Community Trust and the Hanmer Springs Community Board. Mrs. Ensor currently chairs the Hanmer Springs Forest Camp Trust. Mrs. Rosemary Ensor, please come forward. Mrs. Karen Morris of Cambridge for services to the community. Karen Morris has led and coordinated the Mainly Music program in Hamilton, Taupo and Cambridge. Mainly Music provides a music and movement, socialization, learning and development program for babies and preschoolers, as well as building support networks for parents and caregivers. She was a board member and inaugural trustee of the National Board and New Zealand Trust of Mainly Music. She and her husband Ken manage the catering for the annual Baptist Youth Ministries Northern Easter Camp. Mr. and Mrs. Morris manage Festival One's general store, with all profits supporting the running of this non-commercial, youth and family-oriented festival. Mrs. Karen Morris, please come forward. Mr. Ken Morris of Cambridge for services to the community. Ken Morris is National Treasurer of Boys Brigade New Zealand. He has been Waipa District Council's Chief Financial Officer and Deputy Chief Executive. He has chaired the Waikato Local Authority Shared Services Insurance Advisory Group and Shared Valuation Database Service Advisory Group. He is Treasurer of the Waipa Community Trust and held various church and parachurch treasurer and governance roles. He and his wife Karen manage the catering for the annual Baptist Youth Ministry's Northern Easter Camp. Mr. and Mrs. Morris manage Festival One's general store, with all profits supporting the running of this non-commercial, youth and family-oriented festival. Mr. Ken Morris, please come forward. Your Excellency, the investiture has concluded.
New Zealand's honours system is our highest public affirmation of outstanding individual achievement. It reinforces those things that make our society better: service, manaakitanga, and the pursuit of excellence. To our recipients, it has been a privilege to hear your stories. You have each used your talents and abilities to improve the lives of fellow New Zealanders. In doing so, you embody the sentiments expressed by Nelson Mandela when he said, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is the difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the lives we lead." I urge recipients to wear your insignia with pride at every opportunity, knowing that you inspire others through your example. On behalf of the King of New Zealand and all New Zealanders, I congratulate you on your achievements, and I thank you once again for your service to our country. Kia ora, hui mai tātou I tēnei ahiahi. Now you will see on the back of your program the national anthem in Te Reo Māori and in English, and I invite you to stand with me and sing both.